Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. And here in St. Louis, we are getting ready to go through another heat wave starting today, going all the way into Tuesday. And not only is there a heat wave in our weather conditions, there is a controversial heat wave taking place again in our St. Louis public school system with its newly elected superintendent. For all those who should know the past, ever since Kelvin Adams retired, there has been a plethora of issues with trying to replace him and his 20-year tenure as a St. Louis public school superintendent. I think he did a pretty good job, a very good job, well-respected individual. But subsequently, passing that baton to the next superintendent has been very, very difficult and controversial. As you all know, the last superintendent we had for maybe a year was the young lady out of Seattle, Washington, Dr. Keisha Scarlett. And that was a complete debacle with overspending, hiring her friends, nepotism. Had one person who was, I think, the director of communications, who was not even living in St. Louis. I think she was living in Houston and was going to be the director of communications and run that department remotely, out of town, 1,000 miles away. Luckily, through the uproar, we were fortunate enough to get rid of Keisha Scarlett. There are some issues on some legalities on what's going to take place after her disruption and leaving. And now the new superintendent that we hired here, her name is Millicent Borshade, is having some of the same issues. We are supposed to be, as adults and teachers and administrators, supposed to be galvanizing our young kids and pointing them into the right positive direction to have a good life. We're supposed to be developing these children intellectually, physically, emotionally. And if our administrators, our board, our principals, our superintendent are not doing the right things, the adults, how in the world do we expect our kids to be successful? And our children are our future. I think it's very important for those who are listening, you should follow Bill Monroe, who talks about the St. Louis Public School Board, and I think was trying to get on the board. You can follow him on Facebook. He brings up these issues all the time. Elliot Davis does an outstanding job talking about issues surrounding St. Louis City on his Facebook channel. Please follow him. But St. Louis is slowly turning into Chicago. We're talking about two Midwestern cities that are having a ton of chaos and disruption. If our children are not learning, as you all probably have heard recently, we've had 14, 15, 16-year-old kids participating in carjackings. There's been innumerable amount of violence, gun violence down on Washington Avenue for the last several years. And there are more and more and more young people that are getting involved in criminality. The juvenile courts are going to be inundated with individuals that are doing the wrong thing. And it all starts in the home. We have issues with fatherless homes, but secondarily, it starts in the schools. Sumner High School is basically closed. You have about 150 kids there. Beaumont is desolate. Central High School closed many years ago. Many of your middle schools, Turner Middle, here in the St. Louis city, are all gone. There are way too many dilapidated, empty buildings, and St. Louis is falling apart one brick at a time, not including the recent tornado of May 16th. But now we are repeating the same dumb behavior and the same idiotic hiring practices with this new superintendent, this Millicent Borshade, is being accused of the same things that the previous superintendent was accused of, and her name was Dr. Keisha Scarlett. Two black females. This is not looking good, and now we have a president, Donald Trump, who's going after DEI and targeting these individuals. Are we hiring the wrong people? What are we doing? We need to take a look in the mirror. You have kids at Vashon High School that are ninth graders reading on a fourth grade level. Their math and reading skills are 3 and 4 and 5 grades behind where they should be by the state mandates. And that is not just at Vashon. That is a panacea that is going throughout many of our inner city schools, not only in St. Louis, but throughout the entire country. And this latest debacle with this new superintendent, where the St. Louis Teachers Union, Local 420, sends a letter to call for a vote of no confidence of the new St. Louis Public Schools superintendent, Millicent Borshade. So what are they talking about? They're saying a vote of no confidence in St. Louis Public Schools Superintendent Millicent Borshade appears imminent, according to a letter obtained by First Alert 4 Investigates. The August 4th letter, signed by members of the American Federation of Teachers, St. Louis Local 420 Executive Board, cites numerous grievances and urges other members to add their names to this grievance to have the new superintendent removed. This is a second black female doctor, supposed to be the leader of the entire system, St. Louis City school system. And now she's in hot water. So what are some of the union listed as concerns? Safety disregard, proposing to relocate damaged schools without regard for territorial issues, risking violence, unauthorized spending on branded items. So safety disregard. Kids going to different areas. There's gang violence. There's all kind of social issues that are taking place with these young folks today, and just moving them to another school and not taking those factors into consideration may increase violence. Nepotism, continuing the predecessors' hiring of friends and associates, including spouses and business partners, despite the Board of Education's objections. This is the same exact thing that they accused Dr. Keisha Scarlett about. Lack of empathy, suggesting school closures in a tornado-affected black community, causing instability before the school year. And also remember, we've been having issues for the last few years with the busing transportation system. We're getting kids to and from school, buses not showing up on time, kids not being picked up. That is an issue. And we're fastly approaching the new school year. Disloyalty to the St. Louis public school system, failing to promote back-to-school campaigns, potentially benefiting charter schools, risking the loss of more than 2,000 students and associated funding, bullying and retaliation, reports of staff intimidation and disrespect. So they're saying if this superintendent, if she asks somebody to do something, whether it's right or wrong, and they decide not to do it based on their moral character, she's going to retaliate and intimidate and disrespect these teachers and other administrators. That creates an environment that is not healthy, workplace harassment, stressfulness, when you're supposed to be there teaching these kids, not worrying about all these extemporaneous things that administrators and adults are dealing with. We have to be mature and look in the mirror. the administrators and these adults are there to take care of these kids. Low morale. Employee morale is described as it is at an all-time low. So there is an environment that has been created where there is not an harmonious inclusion of learning, loving, positivity from the top of adults and administrators, and it's going to trickle down into the children. Many of these kids are already coming to school with issues in their family life, their learning environment, and you have these administrators, starting with the superintendent, that's worried about everything else but what should be concerning these children and learning. When asked to confirm the letter, a union board member called in an internal document not intended for public release and declined for further comment. The letter from the union, dated August 4th, the following day, Missouri State Auditor Scott Fitzpatrick released the first phase of his audit into St. Louis Public School System's hiring and spending practices under former Superintendent Dr. Keisha Scarlett. His findings included $3.5 million in illegal attendance bonuses and salaries exceeding approved limits by as much as $45,000. The report stated Boris Sade was overpaid $44,000 while she was serving as the deputy superintendent. So she was already being overpaid as a deputy superintendent. Boris Sade became the superintendent in February. She hasn't even been there a year, with a salary of $268,000, the same as her predecessor. So the board didn't change anything, kept the salary the same, and then they hired a replica of the previous person that they just got rid of, and there's multiple lawsuits going back and forth between Dr. Keisha Scarlett and the St. Louis board. In a statement, the St. Louis Public School System defended her leadership, talking about Dr. Millicent Boris-Sade. Of course, they're going to have to back that. They made the ultimate decision, and now they're getting a slap in the ignorant face for repeating the same dumb behavior and decision-making that they did with the previous superintendent. School is fastly approaching. Kids need their books. They need to know if they're getting to school. Transportation has been an issue. There's tons of violence is going on in our city. Our city is slowly turning into Chicago, a city that I do love, but their administrators are doing a poor job. And now we will not have a superintendent for this year's school year.